Доброго дня, колеги. Ми розпочинаємо робочий день в Українському кризовому медіа-центрі. Будемо говорити про децентралізацію та як залучити інвестиції у громаду та ефективно їх використати. Наші спікери – це Ігор Довірак, він є голова Пechenizhynської об'єднаної територіальної громади на Івано-Франківщині, а нашим модератором є Надія Петрунyak, координатор Центру комунікативної політики Центрального офісу реформ. Колеги, прошу.
Доброго ранку. Отже, сьогодні недаремно інформаційний свій день Український кризовий медіа-центр розпочинає саме з проекту «Речники громад», оскільки сьогоднішня наша розмова перед...
We are talking before the conference from creating communities to their effective use, and we'll be talking about attracting business to development of communities, attracting investments. Again, I would like to introduce our guest, Mr. Igor Dovirak, the head of Pechenizhynsk United Territorial Community, which is the first community set up in 2015. It united 9 settlements, 8 village councils, but I would like to remind that in Ukraine we have 366 United Territorial Communities. They unite almost 1,800 councils, village and settlement councils. The area is 15.5% of the territory of Ukraine, and there are more than 7% of population living in these communities. I have here such a book, a collection of works on page 106. They say that in 2015 the total budget was 15 million, and in 2016 it was already 60 million. Is it a misprint? Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for this opportunity to speak. We are the first united community in Ukraine. The way was not easy to getting united, and the figures you mentioned, you quote, are true figures. Before uniting all village communities, they didn't have the revenues and the expenditures that the united community is receiving based on budget legislation. These are own revenues which grew up from 4 to almost 8.6 million hryvnias. These are own revenues, but also why we're talking about 16 million, these are different types of subsidies from the state. We receive money for free education and medicine. We receive basic subsidies, and also the state has promised and also gives us the infrastructural subsidy, which is 9.3 million hryvnias. We'll talk about how the community used this money last year. But before that, when the community offered their budget last year, what was the attitude, what was the impact of the district or region? Neither district nor region interfered with the forming of our budget. And the expenditures, we were trying to prove the efficiency to the villages which are united. And in fact, we were trying to that these are the salaries, the energy, food, but we would like to prove some other actions related to such things as to allocate 1 million hryvnias for different measures to organize the territory. We were also ourselves forming our budget. It was difficult. We did not know how to organize the executive branch. Well, there's a village head. There are 26 members of the council, and there's a secretary. You've probably heard that the legislation is looking towards united communities, and then we were trying to we were we were discussing with different regions, and we were developing our own position on creating the budget. So the budget of the community grew up 12-fold. No one interfered with forming the budget, and now let's clarify how, please enumerate how the community was spending money and how the interests of the villages were taken into account. The villages which are around the Pechenizhyn, which are in the center, that is our main task. We have to prove that we distribute the money evenly to all the villages which are united into the community. This infrastructural subvention was allocated so that every settlement received minimum 850,000 hryvnias for development. How were they using this money? They had the public hearings, the consultations with the members of the council. Like in one village, the community said that they want to have the elder there, and we agreed to that. We bought some small house, and the elder and the secretary are working there. We were also using other things. The executive apparatus wasn't organized, and that is the place from where all the administrative services are to be provided. So we basically needed administrative center of the community. We'll talk about administrative center later. I understand that you were building the roads. Did you build some roads? I will tell you in detail what we managed to do within 1 year. From local money, we allocated money for the roads of regional significance, together with the service of automobile roads of Ivano-Frankivsk region. We allocated more than 1 million hryvnias for repair of the roads, and there are more than 40 kilometers of them. We were repairing the places where people were mentioning there were big problems, but for the money of infrastructural subvention, we also repaired the road of local significance. We were planning in the beginning of 2016 to spend, to allocate 70-80% of that money to repair the roads of regional significance, but the methodology and allocating such money prohibits to use this money. And then we changed our approach and we used it differently in other settlements. And for settlements, we got a wonderful idea. There was a wonderful idea opening, organizing open fitness halls like gyms. The term of construction of such a gym is 8 months. It's made of panels. Inside there's a toilet, the shower, and this gym, which is of standard size, which is 18 by 9 meters, plus minimum criteria. And in small villages, when people elected me and I was analyzing the problems, I saw the villages where they have from 1,000 to 1,500 people, they had no high quality life, and so we were trying to implement it all. I hope that the cost of the gyms will be smaller, but there are certain norms there, and via Prozora platform we organize tenders at the level of a village. That is, we using this electronic platform, we don't see who participates in the tender. We are not influencing the process, and that's great. In one tender, we reduced the design cost by 1 million hryvnias. So 4 of them are typical, and we were reducing the design cost, but the gym means the whole set of measures that the community would receive. And the main thing, are people there in these gyms? Do people attend them? If you recollect, when the resolution was passed as to how the money of infrastructural subvention should be used. So we basically did not violate the legislation. We decided how we will spend this money. Then we send the application to the Ministry of Regional Development. Then in September we received the approval. Let's calculate more week by week. Then what do? We receive high quality documents which were analyzed by all the experts, examined by all the experts, because that means safety and security for children. So basically that we received the package of documents. It took 2 months. Then we submit these documents to Prozora platform to procure these works. Then another month passes. Then we need to receive we need time to execute the agreement, and basically everyone monitors that we do not violate the legislation. But what's specific for us, we know how to survive, how to organize our work so that we do not violate the legislation. We understand that we need not violate the law.
And if we sum up all those periods, we see that 8 months were used for all these procedures, and now we are finalizing the construction. We have designed 15 different projects for infrastructural subvention, and we have 15 members of local government. We have 16 villages. Of course, I'm not very happy with with those projects, but all those people, they have their own opinion. In one of the villages, we made capital overhaul and renovation in the local ambulance center, then repaired roofs in local community center, etc. So despite maybe my dreams, we have to do this current repairs. It's understandable that now local communities should not just wait for subventions from and subsidies from the government, from the central government. I think that it's right time for local communities to earn money and to invest into further development. Of course, this will be discussed at today's conference with participation of Prime Minister, but I would like to know your opinion now. How do you attract investments? The state fund for regional development provided us with money for investments, and we submitted 15 projects, and unfortunately some MPs, central MPs, interfered and corrected them. I hope that there might be more transparent formula for allocation of funds from the state local development fund. This year we submitted 6 projects for budget allocation. Of course, maybe some of those projects are not of the best quality, but we continue to improve them. I would like to describe our approach in such projects. We try to make use of the unique position of our community, local consolidated community. I think that people should stay where they were born, and these are the roots of our nation. Ukraine had signed some international treaties about transboundary cooperation with Poland, Belarus, with Moldova, and behind this transboundary cooperation, there are special funds allocated by the European Union for this purpose. Although we are a small, consolidated community, but we have some experience in allocating our local budgets or in submission of projects to this funding, which is available from the European Union. Our foreign partners assisted us in development of the strategy for our Pechenizhyn local community, and you can find this strategy, which is approved by our local self-government members on our website. Also, we have established some standards for communication of people with leadership of the community, and we have surveys, etc. They confirm that people have confidence in us, and we have submitted to Warsaw the joint project about transboundary cooperation. There are big money about which we request. We understand the competition will be high, and the application was accepted for this competition. We have got confirmation, and in order to produce that application, I studied Polish experience, Підкарпаття Gmina. They have huge experience in involvement of the EU MAMI. We try to use their experience. I think one of the biggest shortcomings in Ukraine at the level of local communities is the lack of experts and qualified specialists able to write down such projects. We discussed so to say, hard infrastructure, while human resources, they could be called this soft infrastructure. I do not wish to say that the human resources play the decisive role, but actually they do. And we had established a competitive filling in vacant positions in our village council. We offer some bonuses to the salary, which are not huge, of course, but this is something. We try to find right people into vacant positions. Of course, there is a lack of qualified specialists, but I try to engage young, and the average age of our staff is 35 years of age. Gender policy is, I think, perfect. Just look on our website. We have the family picture there, and you can find a lot of young faces and a lot of women in our team. I think we should invest in training and experience of young people. We should engage them, and it's worth our effort. For example, once I hired a lawyer with big experience, but now the time is changing, and I have to convince him to change the approach which he applied during all his life. Maybe you may use specific ways of motivation, like wages and, of course, accommodation and housing. Fortunately, our villages are located very close to each other. And I think that the motivation should be, and the general methodology to motivation should be developed at the state level. We offer to our residents such things as arts school for children. Of course, this costs money, but it's worth doing because this raises the quality of life. Of course, it takes more than 1.5 million from our budget to maintain this School of Arts, and we offer services to neighboring communities, but still it's useful. Before the conference, which will be held today, I would like to ask you a question about your strategy, whether you have enough space for implementation of your strategy. I mean, enough territory for implementation of what you wish to reach. Last month, we have established a special commission which will develop action plan for the strategy implementation. Of course, it will be inclusive work. We will invite local residents to the work of this commission, and that's why quite often people do not even read the development strategy and do not understand their role in it. That's why we decided to establish a permanent implementation commission under our executive council, which will work on day-to-day basis on the strategy implementation. I think that strategic issues should come first in our activities, and the current issues should be tackled on subsidiary basis. When at the moment when our community had received responsibility and money, immediately we found out that we have a lot of ideas. I think that criticism also should be aimed at creative purposes. Now, questions. You mentioned a lot about development of local communities, but it is well known that money coming to the local communities are spent not on development, but on filling in the empty spots on current repairs, etc. Do you have any development projects? I think many projects that we implemented this year, many were aimed at saving money. As for development projects, we submitted projects to the contest of the state local development fund. It was about development of traditional local crafts like beekeeping and some other local things. Probably you did not understand clearly that I'm not very happy about some of our development projects, but I have to agree with the local community which wishes to do something specific. Of course, budget money are always not sufficient, and once I had an opportunity to visit Bavaria with the Hans Zegel Foundation, and one local local community leader mentioned that we lack budget money, and this was in the region where they had BMW production enterprise, and we thought they were very rich. This just illustrates that local community is never happy and feels that the budget is not sufficient. I will ask the final question. Let's assume we are back in 2015, whether you would choose another way for reforming. I think that thinking about prosperity, we understand that prosperity of the whole state depends on the prosperity of small villages, and unless we have rich villages, we won't have rich state, rich country. I would like to remind you that we had discussion with Igor Dovirak, head of Pechenizhyn local consolidated